show.
Welcome to episode 130 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. He's Lepore, I'm Bruno. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on YouTube as well. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they kind of stink, everybody. They are not very good right now. Plain and simple. They've lost 4 games in a row. 4 straight blown leads. They only have 13 regulation wins in 42 games this season. Only 7 teams in the NHL have less regulation victories than the Leafs. So we are going to give you our thoughts and opinions on everything going on with the Leafs right now. Maybe we'll call it a State of the Union, since we're pretty much at the halfway mark of the season. So we are going to get into a bunch of Leafs talk, and then we are also going to discuss who we think is the best team in Canada right now. It sure as hell isn't the Leafs, but is it the Jets, the Canucks, the Oilers, perhaps? So we have a lot to get into, and I promise you want to stay tuned until the very end. But before we get into all that, it is time to officially welcome in my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Lepore. How you doing today, man?
Oh, Anthony Bruno, I wish I had a better answer. It is freezing outside. I had to go to work today, and my favorite hockey team sucks. So it's going to be hard to put on a smile, but the look of you gives me that smile, Bruno. Happy to be recording a pod, even if it is going to be a negative one. And I got a feeling it's going to be a really negative one.
Yeah, let's just dive right into it because there is so much to unpack right now. And we can start this however you want. I just want to hear your thoughts on the current state of this team because I laid out a few stats. Another stat, they're on pace for 98 points right now. Like, this is a team that's consistently been around 110. They had a 115-point season. You know, they've been an elite regular season team, and right now they're just not. And you go across the board, I can list off like 20 different stats. They're middle of the pack, below average in a lot of categories. Like, really the only thing that they're sort of good at right now, if you even want to call it that, is scoring goals. Right now they rank 6th in the league in goals per game. Their power play is also 6th in the league. But you just go down the board, man, and from what I'm seeing from all of these numbers, whether it's just basic sort of goals against, goals for, goal differential, things like that, or if you're looking at underlying numbers, they just aren't good, Lepore. So I'll throw it over to you now. What the hell is wrong with this hockey team? And is there any optimism from you whatsoever moving forward with this team?
I just took a big breath in for those who couldn't hear it. So I think in all things, not only in just sports, anything in life, we have biases. We have unconscious biases. We have confirmation bias, things we've seen before. So I think what's happened in Leafland this season is we haven't seen much good, if we're being perfectly honest. Even when they're winning, they don't look good. But I think we've always had that thing in us from years past. They'll get out of it. They'll pick it up. They're better than this. So I think we almost kind of had a false optimism of this team. And it's not just about the 4-game losing streak. I mean, that's the absolute cherry on top. But if you look at this season in totality, okay, the Toronto Maple Leafs are not a very good hockey team. You mentioned the lack of regulation wins, and I will respond to that. A lot of those overtimes came during the Leafs, when the Leafs had trouble with Sammy, when there was 3 defensemen out of the lineup and they were getting overtime. And I saw a stat that said, as much as people are arguing that they're horrible when it comes to regulation wins, I think they're 3rd best in regulation losses. Maybe not after this 4-game losing streak, but I mean, again, it's not good. We want to see better than that. So in terms of what level of concern to put on this team for the season, it's not one move. I don't think we can just bring in a defenseman and okay, problems are solved. Guys have to be better. And again, I mentioned biases. It's a time like this when you do really take a step back and look at what we've been watching all season, because we have a big enough sample size. And I think we're at the point now where it's fair to criticize our signings, the new signings, I mean, other parts of our lineup. There's just too many things that this team is not good enough at. And you mentioned the trade deadline. You have to earn the trade deadline. Okay. Like, I don't want to see the Leafs at this point anyway send away a first round pick for a rental. No, because that's not going to cut it. If it's someone signed and it makes the team better for years to come, yeah, I mean, that's a move you'd make at any time. But this team by no means has earned the right to try to load up at the deadline, because as it stands right now, it could be a big fat waste.
The Leafs might not even make the playoffs at this point.
Yep.
So I think you nailed it. Like, they haven't earned anything when it comes to Brad Treliving loading up at the trade deadline. At least at this moment in time. Maybe that's going to change over the next couple of weeks. Because if you asked me 2 weeks ago how I thought about that, I would have said, yeah, absolutely, they're going to load up at the deadline. But right now, on pace for 98 points, not looking great.
Yeah. I mean, the things that are obvious, okay? The defense is not good enough. Okay. I think the two things to me are, number one, I mean, we've had our goaltending issues. And I mean, right now, I guess the game plan has to be, and we touched on it last week, is Marty Jones / Joseph Wall. And I don't think we can really panic about that, because we were going into the season with Samsonov and Wall. So it's not very different. And I mean, Martin Jones has played very, very well. So to me, that stays the same. Moving forward, I think we can really look at our D. The D is not good enough. I love TJ Brody, but he hasn't been good enough. Morgan Riley, I will say, has been fantastic, and he earned his spot at the All-Star game. Liljegren's been good, but he's been hurt. We had high hopes for Timmins this year. When he has gone the lineup, he's been a disaster. Giordano's had phases where he's a disaster. The D is just simply not good enough. And then, I mean, we all know what happened with Klingberg. And then we move up to the forwards, and we've given Bertuzzi a pass. I'm kind of disappointed in this fan base, because we're known to be the fan base that is too hard on our players, and we run guys out of town. Everyone knows the Larry Murphy story. And maybe it's because we know Bert has a 1-year deal, but this guy makes $5.5 million and came in as a huge name. Everyone was stoked when we signed Bertuzzi. He's got like 6 goals?
It's 6 goals and 19 points in 42 games, making $5.5 million.
Playing with super elite players. He's gotten every opportunity. He's been a huge disappointment. He's one. We mentioned making changes. I'd see if I could trade him. Because really,
it's not a bad idea, because he's not really helping this current roster right now.
What's the difference? Let's say him in the top 6. If you move, like, I don't know, Yarncroc up, are they worse? No. Who cares? Oh, and now Robertson gets in the lineup, and he actually deserves to be in the lineup. So he's a guy. I mean, I would trade Bert. I really would.
Well, same thing with Domi, Lepore. Domi has 4 goals in 42 games.
He stinks, bro. I hate to say it, because I was really rooting for the kid, and I love the whole tie to his dad. And again, I think we were blinded by that. And I had some hockey people warn me about Domi, more so with his play away from the puck. But no, not good enough. I mean, what does he really and truly add to this lineup? For a while, that line with Yarncroc and Robertson was cooking, but I think Yarncroc's kind of a guy who makes everybody look good, and Robertson's looked, I think, pretty good the times he's been in. And I will say, low key, and this may lead to some flack, I think Nyes has been disappointing. I think he's been okay. I don't think he's been bad, but again, a player with that size, that speed, playing with talent, come on, man. You got to do more than what you're doing. You have to produce, right? And again, across the board, it's not good enough, Bruno. Like, they are, I'm not going to call them an average team, but they're a team that's spent to the cap, that has talent that's carrying them. That's it. And I know the one take I keep hearing back is, okay, this team's on pace for just under 100 points. And they were dealing with the Sammy thing. They still do. He still is the worst goalie in the league for goals saved above expected. I checked in on that yesterday. Absolutely terrible. But regardless. I mean, you can't say we haven't let Sammy hung out to dry a few times. We did the other night. He made some huge saves for us and we still let him down. I don't know, man. This team, I think to sum it all up, if I could do it in a very short way, which I never do, and those who listen to the podcast know about that. This team has no identity. What is this team? What is their identity?
Yeah, they have no identity now.
No
their identity is they have 4 of the highest paid players in the sport who are all very good players, except John Tavares, who's been playing like shit recently. And if those guys don't produce, then this team kind of has no hope in hell of winning a hockey game.
Yeah, again, Bruno, we have a guy on pace for between 65 and 70 goals. If Matthews was on pace for like 50 goals, what would our record be? We'd be out of the playoffs.
How about if Nylander wasn't having the season?
There you go.
Having?
Sure, exactly. It's not cool, man.
You know, it's go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was gonna say it's tense. I was gonna say it's tense times in Leafland because I'm very tense.
It's time for a quick break because we need to give a cheers to the new year from our friends at MANSCAPED. It's a new year, so it is time for new opportunities. It is time to look good, to feel good, and to play good. And the way you're going to do that is by using their brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This thing is an absolute beast. So start the new year the right way, fellas. Go to manscaped.com using our exclusive code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping. Lepore, is there a better way to start off 2024?
Than a Lawnmower 5.0? No chance. As Anthony Bruno said, it is an absolute beast. So why don't you tame your beast with a beast? Go to manscaped.com, GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping.
You heard him. GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Do the right thing, fellas. Start 2024 the right way. The only way. Go to manscaped.com and use our exclusive code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping. You will not be disappointed. Yeah, it's interesting because I talked about how really the only thing they're doing well right now is scoring goals. They rank 6th in the league in goals per game. Their power play is 6th in the league, and their power play has been good pretty much every year of the Matthews and Marner era. But the secondary scoring has been non-existent. Do I think it's the biggest issue in the world? Not really, because the way that this team is constructed, obviously the majority of their offense is going to come from their big guns, and their big guns have been producing outside of John Tavares. Lepore, what is he on now? 5-game pointless streak?
It's 5 games.
Yeah,
man.
so 5 games, his longest pointless streak as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He just has like no explosiveness left. He really can't take over a game. He can't even take over shifts at this point. Like, he can't create his own offense. That dude is struggling out there. We all know he's not worth $11 million. I don't want to get into let's slander John Tavares talk for the next 10 minutes because he hasn't been that terrible, but you obviously need more from him. Bertuzzi and Domi have combined for 10 goals in 42 games. Matthew Nyes, like, it's weird because he's out there and he looks dominant at times, just the way he's able to like muscle guys off the puck and the plays that he's able to make in tight spaces. But then when it comes to production, the production just isn't there. He's got 8 goals in 40 games, 16 points in 40 games. Simply not good enough. Like, you talked about Yarncroke. He's got more points. I mean, he's tied in points with Bertuzzi, but more points basically than Bertuzzi, Nyes, Robertson's only played 26 games, but when Calle Yarncroke is out producing Tyler Bertuzzi, and listen, Calle Yarncroke, 6 more goals than Max Domi. Max Domi has more points than him, but when it comes to goals, like, Jesus, Max Domi, 4 goals. I know Max Domi's not a goal scorer. Like, this has not been a guy who's consistently scored 20 to 25 goals. He's been more of a playmaker. Like, he's not going to drive a line by himself. He's not going to create a ton of offense by himself. But come on, man. 4 goals in 42 games. So it's not good enough. But what's very alarming to me, Lepore, is like when these guys are in close games, I have no confidence in this team. Like, if it's a 1-goal game, a tie game late, and maybe this is a little bit of recency bias considering they've blown 4 leads in their last 4 games, and 3 of those have been multi-goal leads that they've blown. But it seems like they're either losing these close games or they're going to overtime, and then whatever happens in overtime happens. They've actually been decent in overtime this year, but 13 regulation wins in 42 games. That's insane. There's only 7 teams in the NHL that have less regulation wins than the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's just simply not good enough. And I don't know what they do at this point because, a lot of people are saying fire Sheldon Keefe, make a trade. I don't really think this is Keefe's fault, to be honest. Like, as you mentioned, the decor is in shambles. Outside of Morgan Rielly, I mean, is anyone really like how many top 4 defensemen does this team actually have? Because let's say you classify Brody as a top 4 defenseman, which I technically would. What is he, a 4 at this point?
Lately, but
like he's not a number 2, he's not a number 3. He's like a solid number 4. So you have Morgan Rielly and a bunch of just sort of mediocre defensemen, and some are not. Honestly, you could even argue like Simone Benoit. He's been fine, but is he really like? I mean, what is he at best? A number 6? Mark Giordano, that guy, I think, is completely done at this point. And I've talked about this even last season. Like, this dude cannot be playing regular minutes, and this dude cannot be playing regular minutes in the playoffs, or this team is screwed. And honestly, Lepore, goaltending, we all talk about how bad Samsonov has been this season, and he's been terrible. But the goaltending in general hasn't been that bad. Like, it could be a lot worse. And despite Martin Jones actually playing really well and Joseph Wall playing well before he went down, defensively, this team still can't keep the puck out of the net. And it's very alarming because right now they don't have an NHL defense core. Their goaltending is not healthy and their secondary scoring is non-existent. As it stands right now, and I tweeted this out, I think it was the Colorado or the Detroit game. I said, plain and simple, the Leafs just are not very good right now. And you're lying to yourself if you think that this is a good hockey team or that, I don't know, that they're better than their record indicates. I think they are exactly what they are. They're on pace for 98 points. They're like a borderline playoff team at this point.
Yeah. What's your take been on McCabe's season?
Yeah, so he's the other guy. I mean, like, he's fine. It's weird that Sheldon Keefe is almost like trying to encourage him to be more offensive. Like, he's throwing him out there in overtime. It's bizarre. Like, he's handling the puck a little bit more than I would like. I mean, I think he's been fine, Lepore. I don't think he's been bad, but he's another guy like TJ Brody. Like, he's not a top 3 defenseman. At best, he's another like number 4 defenseman. So you have Rielly, there Brody, too. And McCabe, who are considered the 3 best defensemen on this team, and 2 of the 3 are what, number 4s at best? That's an issue.
To be honest, I think from what I've seen this year so far, and he has really good underlying numbers, I might put Liljegren as our second best defenseman. And that's not a good thing.
That's not saying anything either.
Like, I love Lily. I think he's a good player, and I think he'll continue to develop in the right direction. But if he's your second best defenseman, you have a lot of problems, man. A lot of problems, especially too. Our forward group hasn't been good defensively compared to seasons past. So there's another thing. And we mentioned, add at the deadline, or where is this team going to go if they do add? Is it worth adding? I was thinking to myself, I was driving to work today, listening to all the takes on the podcasts, and we went crazy at the deadline last year. People thought we went too far, that we had made too many changes. Because if I can remember them all, it was O'Reilly, Achari, Shen, McCabe. Who am I forgetting?
Lafferty.
We added Lafferty. So if we added those 5 pieces to the team, are we having a different conversation and a healthy Joseph Wall? I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to the Cup, but
they're probably better than they are right now.
They're way better, man. I don't know. And Achari, Pittsburgh, man, he'd be a good guy. Like he's one that slipped away. I think that was it. That was a huge mistake. And we look at other guys we gave money to. That was a huge mistake. But it's not going to get any easier for the Leafs, man, because they have the Flames on Thursday, and the Flames even have won like 4 in a row. So they're turning it around recently. Then they have Vancouver Saturday, Seattle Sunday, and then a home and home with the Jets.
Yeah, this is a tough stretch of games coming up.
Yeah, we're gonna find out like where this team sits and the whole thing with Keefe. And I'm not the guy to say, oh, this coach should be fired, but they've lost 4 in a row. They have this stretch of games coming up. I would say about any coach coaching a team that has, very high aspirations, if they lose 7 or 8 in a row, it's like, well, you can't really argue with, especially in the fashion the Leafs are losing. It's because you just need a change. And you look at the spark that was ignited in Edmonton. What have they been doing differently since the coaching changed? Nothing. They just
that's what's insane is that team couldn't make a save their first 15 games, and poor Jay Woodcroft is now sitting at home being like, what the fuck? Where was the goaltending when I was coaching this team?
yeah.
I don't believe that Chris Knobloch has like waved his magic wand and completely changed their system. I think they're just getting better goaltending right now, and they're 22-6 in their last 28 games.
Crazy. And they
And
look
it's
good, man.
yeah, it's wild because even with Sheldon Keefe, like he was given an extension. Brad Treliving, said that he's comfortable with him, that he likes him. They're on the same page. I know things can change very quickly in the NHL, as we saw with Jay Woodcroft, who had over a 600 winning percentage as Oilers head coach, and then got fired because they started the season 2-9-1. So anything could happen at this point. If this thing continues to get ugly here, we all know Treliving still has that bullet in the chamber with Keefe. It's there. I don't know if he's going to use it. I'm not quite sure it actually is the most optimal decision to make, but it's the easiest decision to make. If this team continues to just put up stinkers and blow leads, they're going to have to do something. So that's definitely on the table based on what happens over this next, 4 to 6 games against all these Canadian teams. But it's rough right now, man. I haven't felt this shitty about the Leafs probably since like that first COVID season when Keefe took over for Babcock. Remember, they got off to a terrible start.
Yeah.
Keefe comes in. They still weren't that good. Like they improved under Keefe, but there were still a lot of issues. And it just never clicked. And then obviously they lost in the qualifying round to the Blue Jackets. I'm getting the same sort of vibes with this team where there's just something that has not clicked. They've been so inconsistent the whole season. And it's crazy because Matthews is having like one of the greatest goal scoring seasons of the last quarter century. Nylander's having an incredible season. Marner's having not a typical Marner season, but he's been pretty good production wise. And this team is still struggling. And it just goes to show, man, like when you have great young players, and if you think of the Leafs, Lepore, like they have not missed the playoffs in the Matthews, Marner, and Nylander era. They had to strike when the iron was hot before those guys got paid. And I know those guys got paid early, but as time goes on, it's the same thing when you have like a franchise quarterback in the NFL. Like the most valuable thing is when you have a star quarterback on a rookie deal.
Brock Purdy, baby.
There you go. You're 49ers, right?
Brock Purdy.
The problem with the Leafs at this point, they are so far past that. All these guys have gotten paid. They're now on their second contracts. And there's just not a lot of opportunity to build around them. And what I thought Kyle Dubas was really good at was like finding those under the radar gems, the guys that have been cast aside, who are still, like 25, 26 years old, like guys like Michael Bunting, for example, right? Like he was really good at finding those types of players and sort of like resurrecting them or even giving them like prominent roles and allowing them to showcase how good they are at a very cheap cost. And if the Leafs can't continue to do that, like Brad Treliving gave $5.5 million to Tyler Bertuzzi. What was it? $3.5 million to Max Domi. Like, holy shit. And those guys have 10 combined goals in 42 games. I'm not asking those guys, Lepore, I'm not asking them to score at a 30-goal pace, but can you score more goals than Calle Yarncroke?
I'm asking Bertuzzi to do that.
And Bertuzzi's a guy who we've seen score 30 goals in the NHL.
Bruno, I came on this show when we signed him saying this is a match made in heaven because the Leafs are getting a really good player and this guy's just going to light it up and get paid. I'm like, he's going to get like 70 points or something. I thought he was going to be a scoring machine playing on that top line, just banging in all the garbage. And he hasn't been. And he was like, oh, I think he's got the best like GF percentage on the team. I don't care. Score, win. Come on,
Yeah. No,
five and a
you're
half million, and he's losing money every day, every single day, because people thought the Leafs got a discount at 5.5 million. Now I don't even know what I'd offer. He's a third liner.
like Lepore. Can you imagine the Leafs committed like 3 to 5 years to
Oh
Bertuzzi
fuck,
and he was playing like this? And same with Domi. Like imagine they committed like
a 3-year deal to Domi or
three or
something.
three,
Oh
4, 5 year deals. Like Leaf fans would be ready to jump off a cliff right now looking
yeah,
at these contracts. Like,
yeah,
holy cow. Like at this point, I think it's pretty obvious they're gonna move off both of those guys in the offseason, barring an absolute miracle,
yeah,
barring one of them just going on an absolute heater. But like Bertuzzi specifically, he's been given every opportunity. He's played with Matthews and Marner, he's played with Tavares and Nylander, he's played with everyone. I mean, he hasn't really been getting like power play 1 minutes. He's getting some exposure to the second power play unit, but holy cow, he needs to be scoring better than like a 40-point pace and less than 20 goals. Like that's just unacceptable
yeah,
at that cap hit. So that's what's killing this team right now. They're getting nothing from the
yeah.
guys who are like the secondary, you know, the second tier in terms of their pay structure. When you look at the salary cap, they're getting nothing. The second and third tier. I mean, Yarncroke, yeah, he's producing, but outside of that, there's just nothing going on here, man. It's ugly.
Yeah. And like back to Tavares, not to really hammer on John, but this is kind of a positive thing. So his shooting percentage is low. I think it's like kicking around 7%, which for his career is way, way down. Should we expect or maybe hope for something that goes in the opposite direction and he gets hot? Because prior to this streak, he was what we thought he was. His, point a game, just below point a game. Every time you look at the stat sheet, 1 assist for John, 1 goal for John, and then it evened out over the course of the season. So can we take anything in that his shooting percentage is down? He's just kind of snake bitten.
Yeah, I think he's been a little bit unlucky, but Lepore, the thing for me with John Tavares, and I mentioned it earlier in the show, is that there's just nothing there eye test wise. And listen, I'm a huge numbers guy. I love the underlying numbers. I love looking at all the data when it comes to hockey. But when I watch this guy play, he just doesn't have it anymore, man. Like when he has the puck on his stick, the play just goes to die, quite frankly. Like unless he's like digging out of the corner and making something happen, like very in close around the net, then he is not generating much offense. And that's what concerns me, not only right now, but that's what's concerned me about Tavares for the last number of seasons.
Yeah,
Like he's just not generating much. And that's why, like, I've gone on so many rants about William Nylander. Like, I don't think people realize how important Nylander is to this hockey team. Because if you had lost that guy, now thank God he's signed for the next 8 years. Like, then you're looking at Matthews, Marner, and John Tavares, who can't create offense at $11 million. I know he's not going to be on the books for $11 million for much longer, but he doesn't have it anymore, man. I'm sorry. Like, I'm no longer going to hold back on the John Tavares takes. Like, that dude has got to snap out of it because it's unacceptable. It's not like he's old. He's like 33 years old, man. I know he's not a spring chick by any means, but holy cow, we need more from that guy.
You make 11 million, like the comment I made about Bertuzzi, you make $11 million. You can't go 5 games without a point, John. Like, again, it's all negative right now, man. And we're on this losing streak. So people would say you guys are panicking, but oof.
Is there good. Anything to be optimistic about whatsoever? Like,
nothing.
Is there anything that's telling you, like, hold on, let's wait until Wall comes back. Let's wait to see what Treliving maybe does at the deadline. Like, is there any reason to be optimistic?
Of course. Like, I will point to the points pace and say, well, they did that with a Sammy that couldn't stop anything. So then if that bumped them up a couple points, okay, then they were dealing essentially without a blue line. And okay, they'll add at the deadline. And these are little things that pump them up, but still, it's not good enough. And any team can say that. There's a lot of teams that are getting bad goaltending. There's a lot of teams that have had injuries. So yeah, I can kind of lean on that. And that's why we're at 98 points or 98 point pace, not like 110 point pace like we're used to. Because like a week ago, I think we're 106, 108 point pace.
Yeah.
And it happens quickly. And look at the Oilers. They've reeled off what, 10 in a row, 11 in a row. I mean, I'm not betting the Leafs are going to do something like that, but they've done it in the past. Maybe not 10 or 11 in a row, but they've gone on tears. I don't know, man. And you mentioned excited about even Matthews, man, because the way this team has looked, I couldn't give a shit about his goal total. Of course, I like that he's scoring and all that, but I have no excitement for like, ooh, a Leaf may hit 65 goals. No, I don't care.
And you called this. I think it was either on the last show or the show before that. You were like, no one's going to give a shit if this guy scores 65, 70 goals and this team just stinks.
Imagine they missed the playoffs.
Man, people are going to be pissed. No, honestly, that's a good point because we should be like really excited about what Matthews is doing right now and the pace that he's on. And, you know, he's chasing down that 65 goal season from Ovechkin in 07, 08. But it's kind of been flying under the radar, as crazy as that is to say, because this team stinks right now. And that's all anyone cares about. Like, no one gives a shit about records and individual accolades. Like, this team is just not good, and people are worried right now, man. There's a lot of nervous energy in Leafland right now.
Do the Toronto Maple Leafs make the playoffs, Anthony Bruno?
They're going to make the playoffs, even though we've been shitting on them for the last half an hour. I do think they're going to make the playoffs, but I'm also looking at some betting lines right now. I'm looking at Pinnacle and the Leafs odds to win the Stanley Cup. You want to guess what they're priced at? And even so, guess what their odds are to win the cup and then where they rank on the betting board.
It's going to be off. Yeah, it's the Toronto bullshit thing. I assume it's dropped at least a bit.
It has dropped. It has dropped.
I'm going to say it's like 12-1.
Okay, that's a great guess. So they're 14-1 to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, but that shows that's the lowest it's been in a while. In probably the last 5 years, you're getting 14-1 for the Leafs.
This team is consistently among like the top 3 to 5 teams on the betting board. They're usually around like anywhere between like 7 and 10-1. Yeah. And I know a lot of it's almost like Tiger Woods. Like people just love to bet on Tiger Woods. I know not anymore, but back when he was, you know, winning tournaments every week. It's kind of like with the Leafs. People just like to bet on the Leafs. Leaf fans are everywhere. So I know that's kind of like baked into the, you know, the betting odds for the Leafs. But to see them down at 14-1, like holy shit.
Yeah.
So they're 10th.
I was gonna guess 10th.
You were gonna say 10? Sorry.
Okay, let me try to guess the teams ahead of them. That's what I was gonna try to do too. Okay. I was gonna guess 10. Boston, Florida, New York.
Yep, all ahead of them.
I'm trying to do the East first. Is Carolina still ahead of them?
Yep. Hurricanes are ahead of them.
Okay. You have to put Colorado. You have to put Vancouver, Winnipeg, Edmonton. So how many do I have left?
I think there's one team that you're missing, one or two teams. And they're both in the West. You may have mentioned one of them.
Oh, LA and Vegas.
So Vegas, and then the other team is Dallas.
So they have them ahead of LA.
Yeah.
Dallas, yeah.
LA right now 16-1 because they've been struggling. They're 1-5-4 in their last 10 games.
It has to do with the division too. That's a tough road for them.
It's a very tough division, the Pacific Division. Well, I shouldn't say the half the division sucks, but the top of the division is very strong.
Yeah.
The Leafs are actually tied with the Canucks. The Canucks, surprisingly, as good as they've been, also 14-1 to win the Stanley Cup. So the books aren't exactly sold on this Canucks team either. And it honestly, a lot of it just comes down to math. Like when you look at the underlying numbers for the Leafs and the Canucks, they're actually very similar.
Oh, the Canucks are driving the geeks nuts, man. They're like, they're just, it doesn't make sense. The rates, it makes absolutely no sense.
Oh yeah, they're defying all the math. Their shooting percentages off the charts, save percentage, PDO, all of that fun stuff. The Canucks are just like, you know, all their top guys are having like career seasons. But when you look at the betting odds, the sports books don't exactly like them. Right now, the Avalanche on Pinnacle are the favorites to win the cup, a shade over 8-1.
Do you have the cons? Is it too early? I'm sure it's not too early. You can find it somewhere. Is it posted to bet on the Conn Smythe?
That's a little early.
It's a little early.
I'm sure there's probably some book that has it already, but usually you won't see that until the playoffs.
Because I was kind of considering, I wanted to look up like what's McKinnon for Conn Smythe.
Just bet it. What are we like 4 months, or actually more than that. We're like 5.5 months until
Well, I
the
mean,
winner of the Stanley Cup at this point.
yeah, but to be fair, he's got to be one of the top guys. And it's one of those things where the closer you get to it, your odds they're gonna give you shit odds because, well, if they win a round, second round. So if you can do it now, do it now.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, it's just interesting to see. I always like looking at the betting odds because it's just
It's reality.
it's another factor in the whole equation just to look and see, how the books are kind of viewing the Leafs and different teams around the league at this point now that we're over 40 games into the season. So, yeah, right now I don't have a lot of optimism about the Leafs. Is there anything else that you think we missed about the Leafs that you want to touch on? I think we kind of covered everything.
We're gonna find out who they are. And people ask, "Oh, you stressed out or whatever?" There's 82 games. 82 games. You get what you deserve. It is not the NFL where you only have 17 games, which is still weird to me how it's an uneven amount of games. 8 and 8 was always the thing I had in my head. But it's not the NFL where you have 17 games and you can lose 5 of them by one score. And a lot of them just came down to who got the ball last. So like there is bad luck, there is bullshit, right? In hockey, I always hear fans, we should be this. We should be that. Oh, if this didn't happen, there's 82 games. And if you're making that argument that, oh, well, if we had this and, oh, that would have got us into 8th, well, you're not good enough. Because if you're a good team and it pushes you down a bit, okay, that's the reality. But whether it's injuries, a goalie that's having the worst season of his life, who knows what. But there's 82 games. So, yeah, of course I want to see my team in the playoffs. But if they don't get in, they don't deserve it. What are you going to say? Like, I'll even make the point. Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and Tavares and Riley have been healthy. So
yeah, none of their major guys have been injured.
Yeah, and they're healthy right now. It's just Wall. So there's no excuses, man. Like you get what you deserve. As a guy, I mean, sports fans are sports fans. Like when you hear like those rants I just went on about how, well, like they're talking about how amazing all their players are, then why are you shit? Like it's simple. You win. You play to win. Get the results. Move up the standings. So am I a little anxious that I may see my team miss the playoffs for the first time in a while? Yeah, I am, because I want to see them in the playoffs. I want to cheer for them in the playoffs. But at the same time, they don't get in. They don't deserve it. So I can't be that upset by it. You're just not good enough. What do you want?
Before we move on to our next topic, if there's any little ounce of positivity and optimism that I could send Leafs Nation's way, it would be that maybe a little adversity is actually good for this team.
Yeah,
this team has not really gone through any adversity in the regular season. And sure, they've dealt with a lot of shit this year with injuries to their goaltending and defense core. But like you said, Lepore, all the star players have been healthy all season. But maybe this team needs a little adversity. We saw last year with the Florida Panthers, just squeaked into the playoffs, 92 points. Next thing you know, they're in the Cup final. I know it's not you can't just compare yourself to every team that snuck into the playoffs and then ended up going to the Cup final. But maybe this team actually could benefit from some of this regular season adversity instead of coasting into the playoffs as like the number 2 or 3 seed in the Atlantic Division and then knowing that they're playing the Lightning like it was last season. Like we knew for like, 50 to 60 games that the Leafs were going to play the Lightning in the first round. So, you know what? Maybe that could actually help the Leafs this time and they'll battle through a little adversity and figure out how to win some damn hockey games. But
I'm kind of worried that's going to go the other way, Bruno, because our Matthews, Marner, Nylander, are they all sitting there like, we'll get in? Like they're not stressed out.
And this team has also proven that their mental fortitude is just not very good.
They don't give a fuck about anything, good or bad.
So I mean, we'll see. It could swing in the opposite direction, but I'm gonna remain positive.
Yeah.
And say that they'll battle through this. But again, I don't think they're very good, but I think that they will find a way to get into the playoffs and then we'll see what happens. But
okay,
it is now time to turn our attention to the rest of Canada because the Leafs sure as hell aren't the best Canadian team in the NHL right now. Who is the best Canadian team? Because technically the Winnipeg Jets, as of recording this podcast, have the best record in the NHL. They are on an outrageous run right now. Like, you're going to be blown away by what I'm about to tell you about the Winnipeg Jets, okay?
Am I, Bruno?
They have allowed 2 goals or less in 13 straight games.
Wait, the Leafs are about the same, right?
In their
Fuck.
dreams. The Leafs are the same in
Jesus.
their dreams. What might be even more outrageous than that, the Jets have allowed 3 goals or less in 33 straight games. So they have gone nearly half a season allowing 3 goals or less. 33 games in a row, they've allowed 3 goals or less.
That's bananas.
Like, that's insane. If you can do that on a night-to-night basis, chances are you're going to win a shitload of hockey games. And that's why they lead the NHL right now in points percentage. What's been very impressive about that team is that Kyle Connor has been out of the lineup for an extended period of time. He's back, but now Scheifele's banged up. Obviously, they made the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade in the offseason, shook up that team a little bit. They have a little bit more depth. But, it's not like the Jets have, like, a ton of top-end talent. They're a good team, but I don't think they have the same high-end talent as Vegas or Colorado or even Dallas for that matter, right? So, anyway, so we have the Jets. Then, of course, we have the Canucks, who, as we talked about, are riding that PDO bender, and they're kind of defying all the math right now. Their underlying numbers aren't great, but they're shooting the lights out, and they're getting great goaltending from Thatcher Demko. And then, of course, we have the Edmonton Oilers, who have now thrown their hat in the ring, who are 22-6 over their last 28 games. They've won 11 games in a row. They didn't even win 11 games in a row during the Gretzky era, which is ridiculous.
Hold up, Bruno. Hold up. Everyone's been saying that, and I'm going to defend my boy Gretzky and co, okay?
I knew you'd have something to say.
It wasn't 4-on-4 overtime back then or shootout. You got the tie. So in this Oilers streak, they've had those. And back in the 80s, that didn't exist. Everyone's like, oh, they're better than the Gretzky. No, they're not. Pump the brakes, everyone. Carry on.
Okay. I love that you defended the Wayner there. But yeah, so who do you think is the best team in Canada right now? Like, right now, who's the best team? And then, like, if you had to pick one of these teams to go on a deep playoff run and potentially win the cup, who would it be of those three? Because, like I said, it sure as hell isn't the Leafs at this point.
It's funny. It's actually really, really and truly funny, because it wasn't that long ago we were sitting here saying that we didn't think the Edmonton Oilers were going to make the playoffs because things look so fucking bad for that team and that group. Their body language was fucking awful. And I think even the biggest Oilers homers in the world cannot criticize us for flip-flopping on this, because things have done a complete 180. I've watched a lot of the Oilers lately, and they look good, man. They're fast. They're playing heavier than I've ever seen them play. Bouchard has just gone to another level, right? And Zach Hyman just decided to be Mario Lemieux.
Hyman's fucking unreal. That's been the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
Did you see that goal that got called back?
That was like one of the goals of the year.
Jesus, like, what the fuck? Well, I'm like, what is happening? Zach Hyman's undressing DJ Brody and going top corner. But to me, it's Edmonton. The Jets are good too, though, man. The Jets are a well-balanced team. As you pointed out, like, they don't have that unbelievable superstar talent at the top. But what you threw out there, this is what's hilarious to me. The Jets have gone, what you said, 44, whatever, 40 some odd
33 in a row, allowing 3 goals or less.
Okay. Their top 6, Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello, Brendan Dillon, Neil Pionk, Dylan Sandberg, and Nate Schmidt.
I might take the Leafs decor over that decor.
It goes to show, man. It goes to show. And I always go back to the Vegas expansion draft. It's about the NHL now. It's a cap league and everybody's good, right? It's about building a team. And that's why I hate the argument all the time of, like, when a team is doing poorly and like, oh, I don't get it. Look at all this talent we have. It's because as a team, you're shit. Right now, as a team, the Leafs are trash, terrible. They make no sense. The team makes absolutely no sense. But you look at this Jets team; they're getting the results. They're doing it, and they had issues in previous seasons with their forwards playing strong defensively. I guess old man Rick Bowness has cleaned that up. What's hilarious, and something I think is not getting enough press: the 3 Jack Adams candidates may be Canadian teams.
Yeah, it's a good point.
In these 3 teams, it could happen. I mean, I don't know, maybe Torts. I'm trying to think of others
Yeah, I
now.
guess the Flyers have been surprisingly pretty good, which is maybe the most stunning development of the entire season.
Yeah, but
But yeah,
I'll go
man,
with
no,
the Oilers. I'll go with the Oilers mainly because of star power. It's like you always have those visions, and I just went on a rant before about how we shouldn't use biases. But to me, it's like the vision of like, okay, like McKinnon winning the cup and Crosby winning the cup and Gretzky and Lemieux and Sakic and Yzerman. So to me, it's like McDavid's going to get his cup. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So I would go with the Oilers. Jets close second though, because I really like that team. I really like that Jets team.
people might be very shocked by what I'm about to say. But Lepore, I couldn't agree more. It is the Edmonton Oilers. They are the best team in Canada. So for all the people who say Bruno hates the Oilers and all he does is troll this team and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I am tough on the Edmonton Oilers, but I've talked about this several times, both on this podcast, on my own social media accounts. The reason I'm so hard on this team is because they have elite level talent, like the Leafs. Why do you think we just shit on the Leafs for the last half hour? They have all this talent and they can't put it together. And this Oilers team at the start of the season was dog shit. Okay, they were 2-9-1. Their goaltending was egregious. Defensive breakdowns. McDavid wasn't playing well. Draisaitl wasn't playing that well, or at least they weren't playing up to their standards. But holy cow, the 180 this team has made has been nothing short of remarkable. And what I have seen from this team recently, they are easily, I think, the best Canadian team. And again, I know the Jets have been fantastic, and the Jets have an identity. They're great defensively now under Rick Bowness. They have arguably the best goalie in the world in Connor Hellebuck. Like, they have a really good team. But what puts it over the edge for me when it comes to the Oilers is exactly what you said. It's the star talent. It's Connor McDavid. It's Leon Draisaitl. The emergence of Evan Bouchard, who, you know, it's now been a couple of years where he's taken over as like their power play quarterback, their number one offensive defenseman, all of that stuff. And Zach Hyman, my God, we talked about how that contract was probably going to age poorly, and we weren't the only ones who were talking about that. Like, Zach Hyman was an injury-prone player who was aging. Like, even now, Zach Hyman, like, it's not like he's a spring chick. This dude's like 31 years old now. But that has been unbelievable. The progression of Zach Hyman, like, think about what this guy used to be for a second, okay? When he first broke into the league, or I should say when he first became a guy on the Toronto Maple Leafs, like, this guy was a grinder. He was a lumberjack who would go into the corner, dig the pucks out for Matthews and Marner or Nylander, Tavares, whoever the hell he was playing with. Basically offered you nothing offensively, maybe scored 15 goals, but every year he got progressively better. And his last 3 years in Toronto, even though he dealt with a lot of injuries, he actually scored at a 30-goal pace over 82 games. So we knew that the talent was there, and obviously he was getting the opportunity to play with like Toronto's best players. But holy shit, Lepore, what we've seen from this guy over the last 2 seasons. Last year he scored 36 goals. Last year he was a monster in the playoffs. And now this year he's on pace to score over 50 goals. I don't care who you are. If you are the biggest Zach Hyman supporter ever, there is no chance in hell you saw this coming. So that's been a huge factor in their success as well. And I just want to give a big shout out to Zach Hyman because he is outplaying the shit out of his contract right now. Yeah. Like, he's been outstanding. Like, did you ever think he'd be this good?
No,
before?
But you know what's gross, Bruno? He's I guess the votes are all in. He's not an all-star.
Yeah, that's right, because he didn't even get in via the fan vote.
Yeah, it's gross. No, I didn't. And Hyman was similar to Bunting. I mean, we all liked Hyman more than Bunting. I think we all, even at the time, thought when Bunting was on the team that he didn't measure up to Zach Hyman. But there's no way, like, this guy's playing like at a superstar pace.
Yeah.
Superstar pace. And you mentioned his injuries and what he dealt with when he was in Toronto. I remember the series against Montreal, he could barely skate by the end. I remember him and Foligno just like dogging it along. But good for Hyman, man. Right now, and it kind of, again, the recency bias thing. How many years left does he have on his deal? 4?
I want to say 3 or 4 years left.
Yeah. So We take him now. we take that contract now and substitute Bertuzzi. That'd be nice.
Yeah, because it was a 7-year deal for $38.5 million. So he's under contract after this season for 4 more years. Oh yeah, hell yeah, we replace that Bertuzzi money with Hyman's contract at this point. My goodness. Yeah, it's just wild to see what he's turned into. Like that goal that was called back in the Leafs Oilers game, it was just a one-man show from Zach Hyman. He never did anything like that in Toronto. Like this is a guy who's now capable of creating his own offense, who's able to play like just excellently alongside whether it's McDavid or Draisaitl. He can play on the power play. He plays in all situations. Like, and he, you know, a lot of people will be like, oh, he plays with McDavid or he plays with Draisaitl. But this guy's like creating offense on his own. Even if you watch him in the playoffs last year, like he's a fucking good player now, which is just wild, honestly, to think about.
That's bullshit. Because we went on a rant about Bertuzzi. We have one guy, they make the same money. We got one guy on pace for 50, one guy on pace for like 12. Yeah, value. Like I was talking about, it's a cap league and you got to get value and it's about building a team. So the whole thing, it's because he plays with McDavid. Come on.
Yeah, no way. Like, if Bertuzzi was playing with McDavid, sure, maybe his pure just like point stats, goals, and assists would be probably a little bit better. But there's no chance in hell Bertuzzi would be doing what Zach Hyman is doing right now. No way. So anyway,
think of it. He's doing what? He's scoring at a pace like 4 times what Bertuzzi's scoring at.
Yeah, Hyman right now, he's over a point per game, 42 points in 39 games, 26 goals.
Yeah.
26 goals in 39 games. He's scoring at over a 50-goal pace right now.
So he at this point, he's got 4 times Bertuzzi's amount of goals.
At the same cap hit.
Pretty
insane.
Way to go.
So if you're going to go on an 11-game win streak and do something that not even Gretzky's Oilers did, sorry, Lepore.
Just easy, Bruno.
One more time. You need guys like Zach Hyman to outplay their contracts. So, yeah I think
What's
right now.
What's that
like? Yeah. I don't know what that's like, Lepore. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad right now with Leaf land. But, yeah, I mean, the Oilers right now, I think they're the best team in Canada. Listen, the Canucks are having a great season. But, again, when I look at the math, when I look at the underlying numbers, I don't think they're quite as good as the Jets or the Oilers. And in a 7-game series, like even just thinking about like even Winnipeg in a 7-game series, I don't think we're taking Winnipeg over like Vegas or Colorado or even Dallas. Like they're a great team. They're great defensively, but it's just very difficult to take that team against a team that just has more high-end talent on the roster. And it's the same thing with Edmonton. Like if Edmonton and Winnipeg met in a 7-game series, at this point, I'm taking the Edmonton Oilers.
But would you take Edmonton over Colorado?
That's tough. I'd probably still give the edge to Colorado.
Yeah. But the Oilers have a chance.
By the way, McKinnon is playing out of his mind. Like he's on another level too. But yeah,
you know what? It's gonna sound kind of funny. Is McKinnon underrated?
Yeah, I think he's underrated. Is. Like I think he's clearly the second best player in the sport.
Yeah.
And I think it's been the case, honestly, like for the last like 5 years. And there's been years where Matthews has kind of come in there. He scored his 60 goals and he's having another great season now. But when you watch those guys on the ice together, and I know there's been some chatter about this, like comparing Matthews to McKinnon. Like McKinnon is just way more explosive, just eye test wise. Never mind the numbers.
His intensity level's off the charts.
He's just a fucking hell of a player, man. He's literally almost as good as Connor McDavid, really, at this point.
I forget who was talking about him. It was a while back, and they said how they described Nathan McKinnon is that he does everything angry.
Yeah,
he skates angry. He skates angry. He shoots angry. He goes in the corner angry. Just amazing.
Yeah, no one on the Leafs does that, unfortunately.
No, not even our quote unquote fourth line grinders. Yeah, amazing. But when I say McKinnon, I think is underrated. I mean, he's a superstar player, and he gets credit for that. I'm just like, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
Oh, you're
like
right.
This guy's like historically good. I guess that's the way to put it. And I just don't think he gets that attention. And maybe in the league with Sid and McDavid and Matthews playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, so he gets all the attention. Maybe that's why. And McKinnon playing in the West. But man, unbelievable player, man. Unreal.
even what McKinnon's done in the playoffs, like his playoff numbers are absurd. He has 100 points in 77 playoff games, 44 goals and 100 points in 77 career playoff games.
So we're just going over stats today of like things we've never seen from our favorite team.
Yeah, it's when you stack that up against anything we've seen with the Leafs, yeah, it's just pretty sad times. That's been the theme of this whole podcast. We're just very sad Leaf fans right now, but we're used to it. That's why we're called the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, because we've been through this shit countless times, and we're just ready to get punched in the face again by this hockey team. So it's nothing new. But Lepore, saying that, is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap this thing up?
I'm actually a little nervous, Bruno. My family in Vancouver and Kelowna and Prince Rupert up north is gonna my head on a silver platter after not picking the Canucks as the best Canadian team. So I'm sure once this pod is released, my phone will be ringing and blowing up with messages about how I'm out of the family. But I got to be true to the fans and be honest on this show. Sorry, Kujini.
You got to be honest, man. You got to speak from the heart. Sorry to Lepore's family in Vancouver. Who knows? Maybe, or I should say in BC. But
yeah,
hopefully, maybe the Canucks will give us something to convince us that they're actually better than they are. But right now, I don't know. They're good, but they're not that good. So sorry, Canucks fans. But I'm sure we're going to talk more about all these Canadian teams as the season goes on and new storylines develop. But that is going to do it for episode 130 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. If you're a new listener or a longtime listener, it would be a big-time help if you give us a 5-star rating and review on either Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you really enjoyed the content, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Tell us who you think is the best Canadian team and why. And while you're at it, ring the notification bell so you know exactly when the GFP podcast is posting some new content. So for Michael Lepore, I'm Anthony Bruno. Hopefully the Leafs will stop being terrible and actually start winning some hockey games, and we'll be here to talk about it. So until then, have a good one, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks, everyone.